Hey guys, long time no see. Don't look too closely at my nails. I am in school right now again, so I have no time for hobbies. All time for hobbies has gone out the window except for cross stitch because that's the only thing I can do while I'm in a Zoom class. But I have scraped up a bit of time to talk about yet another horribly delayed response to a tag, which you guys have told me is okay, but it still feels weird to do. And that tag is Top 10 Curiosity Decks by Candy Soul and Soil. So I love to be late to tags. It's my passion. So I have a couple of things that I want to talk about for this tag. I have a couple of new things. I tried to omit some of the more obvious things that I feel like I talk about a little too much and bring in some fresh faces that are still pretty weird and interesting and that I think do interesting things with the medium of tarot. And yeah, let's just get into it because I don't have the most time in the world to film this. First up is Taro de Ambiguites by Artisan Tarot. This released really recently, I think. This was sent to me by Artisan Tarot, which is very exciting. They also sent one of their other Marseille decks with it and this really cool coin. And I would like to get to know the symbols on it better because it's really beautiful and it feels very powerful and mysterious. I'm into it. Anyway, this seems like a natural contender for a curiosity deck because it does basically what I imagine that the Marseille version of, oh gosh, what's it called? Trionfi della Luna would do. I have Trionfi della Luna, but I have the illustrated Pips version and not the Marseille version. And so this, I feel like, is fulfilling that need in my collection for a weird traditional style Marseille deck. This deck is really interesting. I haven't had a lot of time to work with it yet, but there's a lot of things I really like about it right off the bat. One of those things is how faithful this sort of reinterpretation of the traditional Marseille is while still being just very weird and interesting. The cardstock's amazing, as I think all Artisan Tarot decks are, at least the ones I have seem to be. I also really like, specifically, the vintage distressing on this deck and the fact that it's different on every card. It's always seems a little counterintuitive to me when a deck has distressing, but it's like the same texture that they overlaid on every card. Like that kind of defeats the purpose. But this feels like a very, it feels like authentically distressed, which I really like. Yeah, this deck is really weird. It replaces wands with legs, as you can see. There's a lot of blood. There's a lot of switching things around, as you saw in some of the majors. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I really like it, and I think it definitely belongs in like a Victorian curiosity cabinet, that's for sure. Like, this is just such a strange little tidbit. And yeah, the cups are hearts. This is like kind of in order and kind of not. I don't know how this happened. Maybe I dropped it. But I love the cup suit. I think it's amazing. Like, this is gorgeous. I'm really into anatomical hearts. I think this is awesome. And yeah, so this is a weird deck. It's a little creepy, but it's not, I don't think it's very intimidating. I think some people are a little bit intimidated by Trionfi della Luna's art style, but this is still very faithful to the Marseille style. And so in that way, it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of playful. And I really enjoy it so far. I'm going to probably make a dedicated Marseille video in the coming months when I have more time to, I don't know, to talk about them, because I'm sort of on and off participating in a Marseille study, meaning I'm just using Marseille decks a lot and reading more about Marseille and picking up some other books on Marseille that I have. So I don't know, I'll probably make a video talking about the Marseille decks I have, which is not very many. But, the books I'm reading and what I'm sort of doing with Marseille and oracles I'm pairing, which is, I don't know, maybe a little bit scandalous to do, but I'm doing it. So yes, this is the Taro de Ambiguites. don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but here it is. I'm really into it so far. Look at the star card. Ugh, so amazing. The star card and the strength card, I don't know if we encountered the strength card, are really my favorite in this deck. They are so awesome. Okay, another deck that I have that is a curiosity deck is the Navigator's Tarot of the Mystic Sea. This deck feels like it's like a tarot deck from an alternate dimension. That's what it feels like. And, you know, I forget if I said this before last time I talked about it, but it's a very effective, I guess, world building deck. Like, the world that it builds is so rich and vibrant and, you know, surreal. And yeah, it really feels like something from an alternate dimension. I really love it. This deck is kind of the tarot deck I've been using alongside one other one that I'll talk about. I have been reading tarot a little bit more, especially in the month of February. I've been doing a lot of relationship readings for my friends because they're asking me about it. And I have not been using this deck for that. I think that would be a little bit intense. But I've been using a couple other ones that are also in this video that I'll mention as they come up. This also reminds me, one person asked me to put my Amazon wishlist for tarot decks in the description, so I'm gonna do that. You don't have to get me anything or anything, but you might find something that you're interested in. I like looking at people's wish lists because sometimes I'll find things there that I have not heard of, and I need to hear about everything that's coming out. So that's there if you're interested. Yeah, but this deck is weird as hell. It's a curiosity. It's going its own way, but I don't know, it has such a clear and unique voice that nothing else in my collection has, that is for sure. So I'm really grateful to have it. It kind of reminds me of like an 80s arcade carpet, just in the style. I think the Fool specifically does that. But yeah, I love it. Okay, up next I've got the Taro de Femme érotique. This, I'm so glad I have this deck. It is, was it mass market or was it indie? I don't even know. I think it's out of print, but still pretty easily accessible. Is that right? That's kind of what the impression I got when I was looking around for it online, but I think you can still get it. It is so gorgeous. I know that for some people, like, this is kind of a novelty deck, I guess, you know, that it's like not, like, it's just like an interesting piece of tarot history. Oh, also nudity warning. Yeah. It's an interesting piece of tarot history, or, you know, modern tarot and like a direction that tarot has gone in, but I actually love reading with this deck. This is a deck that I have been using for relationship readings for my friends, and you know, for obvious reasons, it's really good for that. And I don't know, it's just so fun and exciting. Like, all of my friends have gotten such a kick out of it. Like, it's just so, I don't know, it's wholesome. Like, I guess it's you know, an erotic deck, but it's not necessarily, I don't know, it's just kind of fun. Like, it just has a kind of cheeky attitude about it, and I really like the keywords that it comes with. I know some people have said that the images don't really feel like they match with the meaning or with the keywords, but I disagree. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a curated deck, but I think it does the curation really, really well. And, you know, with every curated deck, I think the appeal is that you'll get something like a little bit of a different, nuanced perspective on the card that you might not get with like someone who's, you know, working pretty faithfully off of the Rider-Waite-Smith or something like that. And with this deck, I like to look at their expressions and come up with like little stories about each figure. Like, what's she thinking about? She's sad because she doesn't have any money or something. Anyway, this deck is definitely odd though. I love reading with it. It's odd. This is odd. Like, it's just unusual, but I love it. I love the sepia tones of it. I think it's amazing. So here it is. Okay, I couldn't decide whether for this tag, I knew I wanted to include one of Clownmonger's decks, Clownmonger on Instagram, but I decided against the Clowntown Tarot because I think I've talked about it a lot anyway, and I think this one, Arlecchino's Augmented Arcana, is a little more unusual. I know, okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a Atoya. This is an Atoya deck that has been converted into a Marseille. So there's a Marseille and an Atoya version of this deck, and it includes a bunch of, so this is basically the Marseille version. It has full pips. It has like some extra cards. It's got like the virtues and a couple of other things included in it. I forget what they are off the top of my head, but I really love it. It is another kind of weird and interesting Marseille deck. It's so beautiful. I love these colors. It's clowns. Clowns are weird. This definitely is like the deck that like a, I don't know, a traveling performer in a circus would have and would read for you in a tent with, and it would be very on theme. I know that she is coming out. She's working currently on another, I think it's also a Marseille deck, and it's like a Pierrot specifically themed tarot, and it is looking so good so far, so I'm really excited to get that one when it's done too. She's such an amazing creator, clownmonger. She is very generous with her work and makes just wonderful, beautiful things that really appeal to me, so I'm super happy to have this weird little gem. Like, I think there needs to be more clown decks in the world. That is how I feel. Look at my nails, they match. I mean, don't look at my nails. They are a little bit busted. So that's the Tarocchino Arlecchino. It's on Game Crafters, I think. Okay, I have another deck that was sent to me, and this one I'm so excited about. This was like my first ever deck that was like sent to me for review, so I'm really, really excited about it, and this is such a special one. This is Carta Postal Tarot, and I really love this. I held off. I knew I needed a deck that was like historically inspired, like a tarot deck specifically, because I have Taro de Femme Arctique, but that's a little more, you know, I need a little more everyday appropriate one, I guess. And this is the one. Like, I don't need any other one. I recently picked up the Divine Muses Oracle just as it went out of print, and it's a perfect pairing for this deck. But this deck it nails the aesthetic. A lot of things I like about it. I love historical fashion, so it really does it for me. I love how faithfully the aesthetic and the like sort of premise for this deck has been laid out as kind of like a bunch of postcards, or a bunch of vintage postcards, or a bunch of art from vintage postcards sort of cobbled together into this very handmade feeling creation. I think it's wonderful, and I love the handwriting that's used for each card. I love the backs and how they're just a little bit distressed, and the same with the fronts. Some of the images are less clear than others, but that doesn't really bother me because I think it's kind of part of the sort of feeling that it's coming from a bunch of different places. You know, the reason collage decks are great is because they feel really, really handmade and really kind of, I don't know, impulsive, or like sort of authentic, I guess. This is the perfect vintage inspired tarot for me. The historical fashion makes me happy, and it's also very cheeky. It's like, what is this? This is so funny to me, like all these people on a wheel. Yeah, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It kind of, I feel like it's easy for a deck like this to become maybe a little bit intimidating, or maybe a little bit too serious, because I feel like people have a tendency to associate history with, you know, kind of being serious and kind of being, I don't know, there's a lot of bad stuff that's happened throughout history, but or just a little more stuffy, you know. But this one does not feel like that. Like, this one has fun with itself, and I'm just over the moon to have it. I'm really loving it. Also, the production quality is really incredible. It's so soft and buttery, this cardstock. It's like super smooth matte cardstock, and it sort of like has that really nice, I don't know if you can hear that like nice sound that it makes when the cards rub together. So it's just amazing. I'm really pleased with it, and I will maybe like make a whole video once I've worked with it more on like what it's like working with it after working with it for an extended period of time. I would like to do that, and I think that'll be fun. So yeah, that's Carta Postal. Such a beautiful specimen. Okay, next I have the Serpent Fire Tarot. Is this a weird choice? I don't know. I mean, I chose it because I feel like it's like the little, I mean, it's older than the She-Wolf Tarot, which is by the same creator. It was like the first creation by Serpent Fire in this kind of style, in this sort of really polished and dreamy collage style. And it came out, I think, sometime in the early 2010s, like 2013 or 2015 or something like that. And it kind of feels like a product of that era, which is not a bad thing at all. Like, all these kind of lens flares and this sort of color scheme, I feel like is very like emblematic of that time. Whereas I also own She-Wolf, and She-Wolf sort of leans more in like a pastel, like a millennial pink kind of direction. And yeah, they are, you know, in a similar style, but they are very distinctly different. And I think this one has the quality of feeling more like a kind of, well, I don't know if I would say it feels like more like a 70s new agey sort of, like it takes you to that place. I mean, it does, but I don't know if it does more than She-Wolf necessarily. I just think it is a great and strange and fun and very like spiritually invigorating deck that, I don't know, it's just strange. I feel like it's very well suited to pathworking. I'm sure that's been said before. It's sparkly, it's glittery, it's over the top, yet also in a lot of ways like really minimalistic and geometric. I really love it. I'm super glad that I picked this one up. I know this is like the last printing, so it's not going to be, you know, in print forever, and that sort of lends itself to this sort of I don't know, liminal feeling quality where it's like not out of print, but it will be, and you know, then it's going to become this sort of, you know, this part of tarot history that is quite curious. But I love that we're here in this sort of era of tarot where stuff like this can exist. Really beautiful production quality, really beautiful in every way. I haven't worked with it in some time, but this kind of feels like a sort of like summertime spring evening deck to use, so I'll probably use it for that. That'll be nice. Okay, last couple. Care cards. Yes, this is a curiosity. I think I'm sort of categorizing the curiosity decks that I've chosen as being sort of feeling like they belong to a certain kind of person, that, and just is a little bit strange. And like these cards belong to rabbits. Like these are the cards, if rabbits read cards and were little fortune tellers, then these are the cards they would use. This is like my #1 used deck right now, which, is that a little anticlimactic? I really love it. I use it a lot. I think just because it's so easy, and it's like, I'll just pick it up and read it while I'm at my desk. It sits at my desk with me, and I really, really love it. I love the size. Again, it sort of lends itself, the fact that it's so small, to feeling like it's sort of been passed down to me by my pet rabbit that I used to have. And the simplicity of it sort of makes it feel more poignant and more, I mean, I feel like on either side of the spectrum, like when something is really ostentatious and maximalist, that can also feel really like significant and monumental as you're reading it, but this simplicity really lends itself. It's just really endearing, and this art like really reminds me of Beatrix Potter, so I really love that about it. I mean, everything about it is so perfect for me, and it is strange. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like an oracle deck, I guess, but it doesn't really read like an oracle deck. It reads like sort of fortune-telling cards, or maybe like Lenormand. It's so good. It's my favorite, and it's only like, it's a mass market deck. It's only like $10. I'm shocked that I think I came across it just randomly browsing online, and I hadn't really heard a lot of people on TarotTube talking about it, which they should, because it's so precious and it makes me so happy, and it's so strange. And I feel like having little oddities like this and really giving them a chance too, and like being like, well, you know, I'm used to tarot and I'm used to, you know, regular oracles that just have the keyword right there, but this sort of pushes you out of that box, and for me that happens to work really, really, really well. So these care cards, they're amazing. Okay, another curiosity deck is the Mysteries of Mary. So I also have the Mysteries of the Black Madonna, and I've been using that one a lot throughout, you know, the kind of fall and winter months. I mean, a lot meaning like I'll pull one card every like couple of weeks, and it'll just sort of sit out because, you know, it's like an altar card, and it'll sit out for a long time, and I'll reflect on it. And that's how I've kind of been using that deck. And so now we're getting into the springtime, and this feels like the deck to use. This deck is strange. I feel like it feels, I mean, it does feel like a devotional project. It feels like a devotional project, and I feel like there is something magical and special and curious about devotional projects like this. Like, you know, like ecstatic poetry written like in trance, like about your deity or something like that. Like, it has that sort of feeling of being so out of this world and so deeply connected and in tune with the, you know, the force that it's trying to honor, basically. And it feels so, again, like authentic and so connected to that. Like, it's very successful in what it sets out to do, and it's also absolutely incredibly gorgeous. And yeah, it's been away for a long time in my collection, just for, I don't know, I just don't feel like using it over the Black Madonna in like the sort of cold, dreary, foggy, rainy summer months, or fall months. And now that it's spring, I think I'm going to be sort of transitioning into this one more because I miss it, and I'm really looking for these colors right now in my life. But yeah, it definitely feels like a curiosity in the sense that it is such a radically devotional work, and that's really special about it. So I really like it. Okay, this deck, I'm not going to pronounce it because I haven't started learning French yet, but I will eventually, and then I will try. I don't want to butcher it. This deck, I've talked about a couple of times, but not too much. It's a curiosity deck for, first of all, the reason, like, you know how a lot of Victorian, like, curiosity cabinets would have things that are, like, totally normal on, you know, in, like, on, like, the other side of the world, like, in the Americas, or in, you know, something from, like, India or something would be, like, this super, you know, unusual curiosity that you put in your cabinet. Oh, God. That's how I feel about this because it's French. And I think a lot of American folks don't pay attention as much to French decks, and there are so many cool ones. I mean, I know people do. I'm sort of exaggerating, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's less a part of the cultural zeitgeist in America that a lot of other American decks are, for obvious reasons, in that it is in French, and that can be a little bit intimidating, and you might not know what's going on, but this art is so beautiful that it is worth it. And it's also a curiosity for the fact that it is this color scheme that I wish more decks were. This really beautiful color scheme, this sort of, I don't know, very strange. It's like, how do I describe this art style? This sort of illustration style is so beautiful, and I wish there was more like it, because it feels like, it doesn't feel cartoony, right? But it is, and it feels almost primitive, I guess, but not in like a way that it's like, obviously that it's bad, but in a way that it lends itself to the theme, which is like a sort of medieval aesthetic. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. It lends itself to this sort of medieval, this sort of cryptic, mysterious, magical feeling art style, or time, I guess. And I love it. I feel like I have to use it on like, for like very special occasions, because it feels really potent. Like, this art is so potent, and I'm not like out here like using this to like, I don't know, ask about my day. I don't know. Maybe I would use this at like the end of the day. Like, I would use this at the end of the day to reflect on something. Did I say this was like a deck, like my nighttime deck in Tarot Opposites or something? Did I even do that tag? I don't remember my own videos. Anyway, this deck is a curiosity for all of the reasons I have enumerated for you. And I have the passion of 1,000 burning suns for it. Okay, and finally, I have a Usi deck. This is a very underappreciated Usi deck, in my opinion. This is Prima. It is an oracle deck that is based on and inspired by the periodic table of elements. This deck is so underrated. I think that more people should be open to reading with decks that don't have keywords on them, because the point of the cards, for me anyway, is not, it's not because they just like for the words that are on there, right? Like the art that's on there is as important, if not more important. And I really love decks that make you think and make you pause. Obviously that's not well, you know, if you're a professional tarot reader and you don't want to be out here like sifting through like the books trying to understand what each thing means, or spend like 10 minutes contemplating the meaning of a card and like writing about it, obviously like that doesn't make sense for you. But if you are like someone who's into personal reflection, then I feel like this is really great. Maybe another reason this is a curiosity deck is because it sort of it attempts to synthesize like real material science with the metaphysical. I mean, obviously that's been done many times, but I feel like you don't see it as often as a thematic element in tarot or oracle. I feel like you really just don't. You see a lot of alchemy, you see, you know, herbalism, of course, but like this real like material elemental, like periodic elemental sort of science you don't see as often, and I think there is a really strong place for it, and I really appreciate it for that reason, and beyond the fact that it's just like one of the most gorgeous things I've ever seen in my life. I really love to use it to, I don't know, I love to use it with my other Usi decks. I guess the Eros tarot, the Marseille tarot that Usi makes is also pretty underrated, and I don't own it, but I would like to. But yeah, this one, come on guys, like give it a chance. Just because it doesn't have keywords doesn't mean it's not exciting and fun. And you might learn something about science too, like a little bit, you know, like about germanium. Like I don't know anything about germanium. My boyfriend incidentally convinced me to get this because he's like a biologist, he's like a biochemist. So he obviously was excited about this one, and I think he likes to, you know, apply what he already knows about science to it, which is of course like a fun way to do it. And that's kind of how the guidebook for this is structured. Is, you know, it's looking at the elemental properties to derive the meaning, of course. So I don't know, man, I think it's fun. I think you should give it a try if you're interested in it in any capacity. It's gorgeous, it's glittery, and has the amazing Usi production quality that we all know and love. So that is my final curiosity deck. I actually have, oh my god, I keep forgetting to do this. I have a tarot desk. I got a new tarot desk, and I will probably, next time I film, I will do a tarot desk tour. I'm saying it right now, I'm gonna do it. Tarot desk tour, because I got a tarot desk, special, antique tarot desk for reading, and it literally comes with a curiosity cabinet. Like it has like a cabinet with a glass door, and I mean, I pretty much have all my decks in there, so that's kind of implying that they're all curiosities, but like, you know, if I had this space, I would have a whole shelf dedicated to these weird, interesting specimens. That's what I would do. So anyway, that was my little lineup. I hope you found it interesting. If you haven't done this tag, I think you should do it because it's wonderful. And I know you probably already have done it because if you have a YouTube channel, because it's pretty, you know, pretty popular and it's been done a lot. And, but I'm bringing it back. I'm bringing it back. The top 10 curiosity decks tag. I hope it never goes away because I love seeing these videos. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about any of them, let me know. I hope you have a wonderful day.